I think I messed up. Wait, I'm sure I did. Welcome to Young Elder TV, where UFOs, religions, Anunnaki, and black youth collide in a cosmic comedy. Meet Marcus, our fearless leader. He's an aspiring scientist and part-time alien enthusiast. Then there's Maya, his sister, a no-nonsense lawyer who secretly believes in ancient astronauts. Oh, and don't forget Grandma Pearl. She swears she had tea with an alien once. And finally, their quirky neighbor, Mr. Thompson, convinced he's a reincarnated god. With 3 million fans already hooked, Young Elder TV blends laughs with galactic mysteries. Ready to join the fun? Hit that subscribe button and dive into the cosmic chaos. Young Elder TV, where the stars align for comedy. Hi friends, I am Young Elder's butler, Dr. Charles P. Winston. I work in the lab assisting the Young Elder. Today, I'm diving into the fascinating realm of an ancient race called the Tero. They are beings from the Arcturus, in the Bootes constellation. We will explore how they live on their planet and more. As we learn more about them, we uncover the secrets of the underworld and other beings who exist in the underworld with them. Keep looking to the stars as we move forward on this mission. Don't forget to like, comment, share, hit the bell and subscribe to Young Elder TV for more cosmic explorations. Check back with us every day for new content. Let's get started. Before we get deep into it, let's play a clip from the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York EL.
They think because they introduced you Saturday Night Live to a family called the, what do they call those people with those pointed heads? Coneheads. Right, that's what they call coneheads. They think if they put that in a movie, you'll say, when you see it in a real book, about the Tyrrells, oh, they made that stuff up. They did the same thing with the Predator and the creature from the Black Lagoon. These are all what they have captured, and they make replicas of them. They create these things for what they've already, and they put them in the movies and newspapers, see it in the book that I put out, and oh, he's copying that stuff out of a book. You're the one that's being fooled. These people have a...
Sit back as we twist your cap back. Okay, the Germanians also called the Tero by the Almani, Germans. However, originally they are called Suninans or Sinin. They originally came from the Andromeda Galaxy billions of years ago from the sixth dimension as blue and green light beings. They slowed down their vibration to the fifth dimension. They moved to a planet called Jamon in the Arcturus in the Bootes constellation, which is 36.6 light years from Earth. The Bootes star constellation is also called the Ploughman, herdsman. The Bootes is shaped like a kite, the red giant fourth brightest star in the heavens where much mixing did take place. Keep in mind, most red stars are in their last phase of life before they burn out. Plus, the atmosphere on their planet was depleting, the air was getting polluted from too many factories, so they were looking to get a new home soon. The Tero that have an abundance of pigmentation in their skin are descendants of their elder gods from the planet Jomon. Like we said, the Germanians are an indigenous and sapient species who are native to the planet Jomon. They are often known simply as coneheads because of their most prominent feature. Their skulls are shaped in such a way that their heads resemble large cones. They put out a movie about these beings called Coneheads. They were also featured in the Saturday Night Live, which aired on January 15, 1977, hosted by Ralph Nader. Also, two guys, one named Richard S. Shaver and one named Ray Palmer, who really worked for the Dark Space program, makes mention of these beings. MJ-12 and the Dark Space program knows of the existence of these beings. Don't fool yourself. A man named Admiral Byrd makes mention of these beings in his secret diary. Many thousands of years ago, some Tero landed on Earth, and they were the makers of the Moai, the Germanian statues that originally inspired Dan Aykroyd to make the movie Coneheads. The tops of their heads, like we said, are shaped like large, bald cones. When elderly, their cones are known to start drooping at the tip. They can get as tall as 5 to 8 feet and can weigh as much as 300 pounds. The original are dark skin with no hair on their body. Their skin tones can range like the Nubians of Earth on the surface. There are also albinos born amongst them. Some of them have Asian features. Their skin is smooth like a baby. They smell like electricity. They are physically very strong. The males of the species have been seen stopping cars, ripping through metal and picking up huge rocks. Now you might say he got that from a movie, But then you would have to ask yourself, where did the movie get it from? Watch now, on Jomon the gravity is about 6 times stronger than Earth. A 60-pound object on Earth would weigh 10 pounds on Jomon. They all seem to possess unique electrokinetic abilities emanating from the tip of their conical skulls. The touching of cones seems to exchange electrical energies. The act seems to be used much the same as kissing in human culture. They have much larger organs than humans. Their brains are larger. They are extremely intelligent. They study all the Earth's surface cultures. They are born the same way as humans, but their child takes 6 years Earth time to develop in their mother's womb. This might explain why the Earth's population is so much bigger than the planet Jomon. The population on Jomon is small due to birth restriction. Even though their planet is much larger than Earth, their population is less than 1 million. This could explain why the Jomonians think nothing could be more important than planetary conquest. Since it takes them so long to reproduce, they must seek out other planets to populate. Because of the Jomonians' Teros' own planet's atmosphere, their children are usually born with breathing defects as well as congenital heart disease. Becoming a progenitor unit, which is apparent, is a big thing on Jomon, even though some of the coneheads have genital area, which they refer to as plag. The Jomonians mate by rubbing their cones together and placing senso rings over them. The senso rings are advanced technology used to transfer brain frequencies. Jomon is a huge planet in Arcturus that has 3 moons. Near the 3 moons of Jomon Festival, a holiday, the High Master settles disputes and criminal activity using the ancient ways. There is now a commercial side to the festival, but it used to be only a primitive cultural expression. The Jomonians engage in behavior that could be considered strange by human standards. They sleep upright, they practice a form of cremation, a tradition related to the moon gods of their world. They also are known to make sacrifices to an ancient priest called Jomon, who the planet was named after billions of years ago. They have 3 rows of teeth on the top and the bottom. They appear to have an extremely high metabolic rate and therefore must eat far larger meals per sitting, and as such have evolved a massive mouth with 3 upper rows of sharp teeth and 3 fairly normal lower rows. Those found on Earth have been noted for eating massive quantities of food, drinking gallons of liquids. On their planet, they eat a thing called blag, which is a granulated fungus grown artificially in large holding tanks and harvested like a cranberry bog. They also have a very distinct style of speech, which is very fast, nasal and monotone. This diversification led to the introduction of many things into humanity which did not make it into Jomon culture. For example, language. English is more advanced than the Jomon language. Listen to the Jomon's language close, and you'll notice that they are all either 1 or 2 syllables. Vishkrab, Klaslag, Zerl, Mibs, Scrapnoid, Slarface, Bluevarb, Flandip, Narfel, etc. The lack of an expressive language is what forces the Jomonians to speak monotonously and overly technical, but on Earth this barrier was shed and they learned to speak with longer and more emotional words. Their language sounds like broken German. Jomon, German. You can clearly see the connection. Like we said, the gravity on Jomon is stronger than that of Earth Chi. So, the Tero have a tendency to shuffle when they walk or run. They dress in leather overalls with advanced leather boots. Those that have rank wear capes. Around the neck of the cape are stones or crystals. These stones denote what rank they are. Sometimes they dress in what appear to look like a pajama-type outfit, made from advanced material. They also wear robes and smock-looking uniforms. Women dress the same as men in their culture. The planet Jomon is about the same size as the planet Maldek, which got destroyed by Nibiru. Jomon has a diameter of about 26,945 miles. That's about 3.5 times the size of Earth. The planet Jomon is the 3rd planet from the red star Arcturus. It's about 71 billion years old, has used up its core hydrogen, and is about 25 times larger than your Sun, but only has about the same mass. Arcturus is also 170 times brighter than your Sun. Their time frame is similar to Earth. The planet Jomon takes 3 Earth years to make 1 complete orbit around their Sun, which the native call a Zerl, spelled with an U. They have another unit of time called a Zerl, spelled with an E. A Zerl is a unit of time equal to 2.17 Earth years. During this time, the natives celebrate the moons of Mipsor festival, a holiday on their planet where their three moons align. They have 15 months and 1 month is equal to 73 days, which is really 67.3 days, their time frame being they have 26-hour days. Their smallest unit in time is called a zlop, which is a second in Earth time. They have a trisclips, which is around 20 minutes. They have a tapit, which is equivalent to an earthling half hour. Remember, 15 years is 5 zerls, that means 1 zerl is 3 years, so 7 zerls is 21 years on their planet. The planet Jomon has snow lakes and seas. They have trees, grass, and different types of plants. They have about 11 or 12 different types of animal species that are native to Jomon. There is different types of fish that live in the lakes and seas. The Jomonians on their planet can live up to 1,200 zerls, that is about 3,600 Earth years, which the Anunnaki called a Shah. While underground on Earth, the Tero could live longer, under a different type of sun and environment. 1 day to them is now, like 1,000 years, so they can live millions of years as long as they stay underground. The ones who stayed on the surface lifespan is shorter. They could live in between 400 to 1,200 Earth years. In Jomon culture, the women are the ruling class. They have 3 classes, the ruling class, middle class and lower class. They have a monarchy system. What is a monarchy system? A monarchy is a form of government in which a person, the monarch, is head of state for life or until abdication. The political legitimacy and authority of the monarch may vary from restricted and largely symbolic to fully autocratic and can span across executive, legislative and judicial domains. The men serve as the military, soldiers and servicemen. They refer to their leader or empress as the High Master. Her name is High Master Marta. She is known to be very strict and have short tolerance. She bases her principles off the old ways of their people. She has been reigning for the last 320 zerls, which is about 960 Earth years. She has several daughters who are in line to rule after her if something should happen to her. The Assistant High Master is her daughter Layla. She is next in line to rule. She has 6 other daughters, Leilani, Millie, Luna, Perata, Carlotta and Mia. They are all part of the royal court and are being trained to rule. The High Master also has 2 ephors, which is like her watchers or observers. They are subject only to the High Master and Vunglerians. The High Master's advisor is her genetomate, which means husband, whose name is Maxitar. The politics on Jomon, like we said, is mostly ruled by women. They have a religious system where they worship an ancient priest called Jomon, who is looked up on as a god. They have cone-shaped temples dedicated to him all over their planet. They have a priesthood of male Jomonians called the Vunglerian. They are a powerful, secretive caste of priests and statesmen with mushroom-shaped cones cloned from an elite gene pool. The Jomonians live in honeycomb-shaped skyscrapers. They are like huge apartment buildings. They refer to this as their living chambers. The living arrangements are free on Jomon, but the Jomonians all have to work. The jobs are assigned by the High Master. They have motels for the extraterrestrials who visit their planet, which they refer to as space travelers. They refer to the motels as Guz chambers. They have houses of intake, which are restaurants that serve the types of food they eat. The Jomonians get married on their planet. They call it genita bonding. The males can also have what they refer to as phrenetomates, which is a concubine or mistress. This is through what they refer to as a pre-honing agreement. This is all based on class and on approval of the High Master. 2 cones getting it on without these things taking place is a high crime. They called it flat-ragging, which is a term used for prostitution. Even if the 2 cones didn't exchange money, for lack of a better word, for their services. They feel like someone in the act got their rocks off. So therefore there was an exchange made somewhere without the approval of the High Master. The High Master has to get her cut off everything, even making love, which they call hone. On Jomon they have schools or learning centers. They go to school for 18 zerls. They study all the sciences and mathematics. In their learning centers they have a hands-on type of setting. They're very good at reverse engineering things. They have a form of fiat money called Torg, which is like an Earth dollar. They use a card system in which they place the torgs on. They work 3 to 4 hours a day, and everyone receives the same pay based on class and rank. The Germanians have a poor diet on their planet. They are omnivorous. They eat a bird called a grelbon. The grelbon is a bird species with 20-inch wingspan native to Germon. They roast or smoke it over the fire. They also eat a desert lizard, which they smoke, or roast, called a craptor. They eat, like we said, a granulated fungus called blag. They are blue and are grown in labs. They look similar to cranberries. They also eat an oatmeal-looking substance called pulp swirl, which is a white fibrous, pudding-like fast food, consumed through a disposable mouthpiece at the end of a high-pressure plastic feeding tube. They also eat a yellow, tofu-like food, which is pumped through feeding tubes. They drink water and other fluids. One of these fluids is called chaffnock. It is kind of like tea. They also eat something similar to cheese sandwiches, which they call a molten lactate. The milk to make the cheese-like substance is extracted from hooved mammals called kuh ash, which are native to German. They are like a cross between a cow and a donkey. They also eat these beings. The kuh ash graze off chlorophyll stalks, which is red, green and bluegrass on Jomon. They also eat a fish called knarf, which live in the sea on Jomon. They smoke or bake it. They have dealers on their planet called Flerndepps. These Flerndep sell drugs called galatosphere, farthite powder and plots. Galatosphere is an intoxicating plant resembling Earth's Brussels sprouts. The budules may be smoked, eaten or passively absorbed through a body cavity. Fortnite is a powder that causes anesthetic effects. They also sell bootleg liquor called plots, which is a radioactive fermented drink, comparable to beer, made from berries taken from a sacred tree-like plant native to Jomon. If a Flerndep is caught selling these things, it is a high crime. These people are arrested by the Germanian police. They are held in a dungeon until the celebration of the moons of Meepsor festival, at which point they are tried by the High Master, which usually sentence them to death by beheading or feeding them to her pets. For transportation on their planet, they have advanced monorail systems called a Magnapodmobile. These are monorail cars which work off magnetic and electric energy. They can go Mach 5. The Terro designed this same type of monorail systems when they came to Earth underground. The rail cars are designed to hold up to 6 to 8 people. The underground monorail system carts or cars range in size. They also have different types of smaller ships besides the Germanian cruisers that can be used to get around their planet. They also have several different types of advanced motorbikes called magnacycles. They are made for snow, land, air and water. The magnacycles are vehicles that flies just above the ground using the planet's magnetic fields. The Germanians came to Earth millions of years ago on Nibiru. They decided to stay on Earth and begin a new civilization, a new government which would allow more freedom as opposed to Jomon worldwide monarch. Being on Earth allowed them the opportunity to diversify. They were able to split up and develop their own cultures and customs with their own distinct looks and dialects. This stands in stark contrast to Jomon, where everyone looks and speaks the same way, looking for new territory to expand. The High Master sent her main spy named Lugo and his family to scout. They were already good friends with the Danakil. They came to Earth on Nibiru. They also have their own ships. They have huge warships and what they refer to as star cruisers. The warship can get up to 40 miles in diameter. The Germanians' star cruisers are fairly large. They can range from 6 to 15 stories high and can be up to 2,500 feet wide at wingtips. Their cruisers resemble their heads being shaped like a cone. They can fly FTL, meaning faster than light. They have laser weapons. The Germanian cruiser has the ability to cloak themselves. A cloaking device is a stealth technology that can cause objects, such as spaceships or individuals, to be partially or wholly invisible to parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. This can be done by deflecting light around the object, making it appear as if it doesn't exist. Keep in mind, invisibility can be achieved in a variety of ways, including using cloaks, optical camouflage, and the mirage effect. These devices are made of metamaterials, which are artificial structures that are smaller than the wavelength of light. The cloaks bend light rays so that they enter and exit the cloak in the same direction, making the object inside invisible. In optical camouflage, this technology uses augmented reality, AR, to create the illusion of invisibility. For example, copper-based particles can be engineered to scatter light in different directions, making objects visible from one side but not the other. In the mirage effect principle, this effect uses light refraction to create a mirage that makes objects appear to vanish. The principle is similar to how light follows a curved path above hot pavement because the heat changes the air density. The Germonian's cruiser also have hologramic screens and advanced computer systems. The first Tero or coneheads that came to Chi, Earth were dark skin at the time. They later mixed their seed with the Yellow Shen dynasty, which were descendants of the Sans people of South Africa. The Shen dynasty had already mixed with the Hindus and the Fergalrods, Yakub's drafted beings. The Eskimos are an off-breed from this mixture of Tero and the Shaggies also. These Teros also mixed in with the Duanis, and this caused the disease called hirsutism, where the body is fully covered with hair. This is very common among the Mongoloids today. The Germonians, also called the Teros, have 48 chromosomes. What are chromosomes? A chromosome is a structure found in the nucleus of a cell that contains DNA and proteins and carries an organism's genetic material. Chromosomes are made up of long strands of DNA that contain genes and proteins that help the DNA maintain its structure. The DNA and proteins are organized into a complex three-dimensional structure that plays a role in transcription regulation and cellular replication. When the Tero bred with certain humans, it caused a defect of 47 chromosomes, producing what is commonly called Down's syndrome, as found in all races of surface people. For the Germonians, or Teros, are a mixed race. Down's syndrome is a disorder caused by chromosomal abnormalities that develop during germ cell formation. Depending on the gene involved, the child may exhibit the full syndrome or show few or no effects. Chromosome 21 is the small human chromosome, with no more than 1,500 genes. But the genes are of great interest for being involved in conditions ranging from cancer to Alzheimer's disease to vision problems. 1 out of every 800 children born on Earth have this trait. Like we said, because of the Tero's own planet's atmosphere, their children are usually born with breathing defects as well as congenital heart disease. The Tero's chromosome structure is so much different than that of Earthlings that the mixture caused the disorder, and their immune system is unable to function properly, and they lean towards leukemia. Because they bored further into the Earth, they were able to keep their sanity because of crossbreeding. The Teros took on different forms, and others look so human they can come to the surface and not be noticed. The Teros that are lacking in pigmentation are descendants from mixing with the Flugelrods. There's also living beneath the surface of the planet Earth another group called the Duanis, from which leprechauns, known also as gnomes or dwarfs, and the legends of them has come. Down syndrome, Edwards syndrome, and Patau syndrome are the most common forms of trisomy. Children affected by trisomy usually have a range of birth anomalies, including delayed development and intellectual disabilities. Having 47 chromosomes instead of the normal 46 can lead to genetic disorders such as trisomy and linked aneuploidies. Trisomy, also known as three bodies, this condition occurs when a person has 3 copies of one chromosome instead of 2. The most common forms of trisomy are Down syndrome, Edwards syndrome, and Patau syndrome. People with trisomy often have birth anomalies, including delayed development and intellectual disabilities. These conditions occur when the arrangement of sex chromosomes differs from the normal 46, XX in females and 46, XY in males. Klinefelter syndrome. People with Klinefelter syndrome typically have 47 chromosomes, including the usual X and Y chromosomes, and an extra X chromosome, 47XXY. The extra X chromosome contains multiple genes that can disrupt development and cause symptoms like testicular failure, increased breast tissue, and infertility. XYY syndrome, also known as Superman syndrome, this condition affects about 1 in 850 males and is characterized by the presence of an extra Y chromosome. Symptoms include neurodevelopmental impairments such as autism spectrum disorder, as well as problems with language, coordination, and muscles. Other symptoms include hand tremors, seizures, asthma, ADHD, depression, and anxiety. Physical features associated with XYY syndrome include a large head, large teeth, flat feet, and scoliosis. There's no cure for XYY syndrome, but treatments can help with specific symptoms. So when they mixed with the Shen people, it caused Down syndrome. The Tero had disagreement with the Chen people, so they chose to go underground. At this time, they were mixed and looked Chinese with cone heads. Their leader's name is Lamsa, the chieftain of the Teros. The Teros, which is short from integrative or constructive, are a subsurface race that usually keep the Deros in check. We will get more into the Deros on another tape. The Tero got into it with the people of the Shen dynasty, who they had mixed with. A tribe called the Huns also have Tero in their DNA. The Huns were a nomadic tribe that threatened the Han Empire of China in ancient times. The Chinese called them the Xiongnu, but Europeans later called them the Huns. There's another tribe in Africa that shaped their babies head like cones. They are called the Mangbetu people. They are Bantu mixed with Tero. The Mangbetu have elongated heads. Traditionally, babies' heads were wrapped tightly with cloth in order to give them this distinctive appearance. The practice, called Lipombo, began dying out in the 1950s with the arrival of more Europeans and westernization. The coneheads, or Tero, even mixed with the ancient Egyptians. They say they had a hand in influencing the point on the pyramids, which they refer to as flinders. They say the pyramids had flat tops before they came. This makes sense because, according to sources, Pharaoh Huni was the first to make an attempt to make a point on a pyramid, they say, with the bent pyramid in ancient Egypt, located at the royal necropolis of Dashur, approximately 40 kilometers south of Cairo, built under the Old Kingdom. They give the credit to Sneferu, but it was built by Huni. Huni was an ancient Egyptian king, the last pharaoh of the Third Dynasty of Egypt during the Old Kingdom period. Based on the Turin king list, he is commonly credited with a reign of 24 years, ending c. 2613 BC. If you take a close look at the man's head, Pharaoh Huni, you can clearly see he's got conehead Tero in his DNA. I mean, do I got to beat this over your head? You can't make stuff like this up. It's said that Pharaoh Akhenaten, King Tut's father, who reigned over Egypt for about 17 years until King Tut took over after his death, Akhenaten was part Tero, or conehead. Like we said, the Tero came to Earth as part of the genetic upgrade, even those who had defects. They came to upgrade their DNA. A lot of you may have conehead in you. The Tero chose to go underground. They have huge advanced cave systems underground in China and Germany. Their cave systems are massive. They live in advanced honeycomb buildings underground. Like we said, when the Gemonians Tero came to Earth, they wanted to do things different. So instead of a monarchy system like back on their home planet, when they landed in Moai, they studied the human tribes and took notes. They noticed they had what they called a chief. So they copy this and now have a chief or chieftain instead of a high master. Their chieftain name is La'amsa. When the Tero got here, there were already advanced cave systems built by the Naga reptilian people. The Tero used their slave race called the Dero, who they were to keep watch over, to dig out these new tunnel systems, which lead to their different cave systems. The Dero used the drill trains, which rolled on tracks to dig the tunnels. There are several other races that live underground alongside the Tero, which we will get into later. You should already know by now there is a world beneath your world called Shambhala, in which these beings dwell. A brown seed chieftain's daughter named Lucinus, against her will, was forced to marry the leader of the Danakil just to establish peace in the heavens, fifth dimension in the underworld. For the Dunakil were being attacked by Samin Dero, who the Sinin, the Tero, were supposed to keep under control because they were violent, destructive and aggressive beings. So, to bring about peaceful coexistence, the chief of the Teros, whose name was Lamsa, gave his daughter to Fukur, the chief of the Dunakil. Fukur gave his daughter Radia to Lamsa, chief of the Teros, to marry his oldest son named Hatif. Lucinus bore Fukur no children. She, by shadow hour, left the caverns and went to the surface and sought out Fukur's brother Yiskork, who lived in the best part of the planet in the enclosed garden in Saudi Arabia in Mecca. She was welcomed by Yiskork, who hated his twin brother Fukur, who took his wife Lucinus as his own. Fukur and Yiskork had 5 other brothers, namely Amo, Hasi, Rama, Aksad, and Tunde. They went to the surface and 2 stayed within the caverns. Amo, who was also a runaway, lived 20 miles outside of the enclosed garden at the site, with the bodies of Cadmon, who known as Adam and Eve were buried, called Mount Arafat. There was originally a village within, which an illegitimate birth between Yiskork and his brother Fukur's wife, Lucinus, occurred. Lucinus was mad at her father, Lamsa, for giving her away, for she always longed to marry a Tero such as herself. So she, out of anger, had a child by Yiskork, the disagreeable yet reformed brother of Fukur, so her child would be of no service to her tribe. They gave birth to an unsightly, being with the head the size of 2 men by no fault of his own. As a child he was the object of much attention because he had the head the size of 2 men, and when he grew up many referred to him as the big-head scientist. Yaqub, as he was called, wanted to get revenge on his people for their scorn and their mockery. This was an opportune time for disagreeable Pleiadians from Pleiades, a star cluster in the Taurus constellation, to tap into his brains and inspire an unsightly thing. They are Ashtar command. He was led to have faith that he could create a race of people that would rule over his own people and then the whole planet. The people around him that got air of his diabolical plan would ask him, "Will these people be wicked and warlike?" He simply answered, "Only I know that answer, you do not." He knew that he would be their god. He got his idea 8,400 years ago. The process would take 600 years, which would take him to the year 7,800. Yet the cursed seed of Canaan would manifest 6,600 years ago, according to their story, or his story. This god Yaqub created his own Adam in his image after his likeness, in the image of a human being, wicked and weak-minded, that was overcome with jealousies and envies. He was born with an inferiority complex and to subject the world to their wish of superiority. A new man, a kind of man, simply mankind. Yaqub owed his peculiar appearance to the fact he was mixed, for he was part Tero and part Danakil. We will get more into Yaqub and his people later. That's all we have for you today. Hit that like button, family. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cap twisting, information mid-formation and out-formation. Follow us on IG at TheYoungElder023. Follow me on TikTok at TheYoungElder. Dr. Charles P. Winston signing out, Wadu.